Hello. I was just fixing the last couple of things I needed to get done before streaming, like making my tea and get a little bit of iced tea. So yeah, that's a lot. Hi, Mr. Third. The troll is in the house. Yeah, the troll is in the house. That's very loud. Hi, Mill. Hi. Also, hi, Sika. Hi. Look, I have an RGB bun. RGB bun. Dee 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 dee. Oh, another day is done, and it's time to relax. And get a lot of chill vibes in here. That is nice. We like that. There we go. So if things look a little bit different, please just tell me, because I have changed some things about the setup. That annoys me here. That was. I think it was like this. Yeah, I need to fix that at some point, because this doesn't work. Yeah. But how is everyone today? I hope you have all had a nice day. Ooh. What happened, Durfling? Well, Mr. Thart, now you say that. No, I'm fucking sore. Incredibly sore. But at least I'm not dying as much as you in Fortnite. Have you tried to contact her? Like just try to write her? I don't know how it works over there in the states of divorced. Well, I'm just asking because some people are afraid uh, to write people if there's something wrong. So I'm just asking. Set it up over text. And you got no No, sorry, I can't make it text or something like that. Yes, she asked you, but today she was like just ghosting you or what? Yeah, sorry if I'm too far off brain. Because if the person just ghosts you, I can understand that you're kind of upset. I can also understand it if there's if you were just looking forward to it. I can also understand that. But it's always harder when someone just ghosts you. So when should this date be this date start, or have it, should it have started, or what? Of course, ads. Of course. Bun do not like ads. The you. Okay. So should the date be like later today, or was it like a morning noon thing? Well, I would try texting the person and just be like, "Are we still up for today?" Or I just want to know. Mm. Because then you do not sound pushy. You have asked the person. Yeah, waste of time then. Then it's just a waste of time. Is that okay on the book? Or is it too dark? That's too dark. A little bit too dark. Would you say that's okay? Ow. Well, maybe the person is had anxiety. Some people get that when they are on a date, or it could be have been a friend. Yeah, that also happens. Sadly enough. I don't know. I don't know why an Uruhata is. No clue. But it also say the Urukai. So yeah. Dum dum dum. I'm not lying. Like, how dare you accuse me, a little adorable bonbon, of lying? No, 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 no. That is not good. No, 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 no. We do not do that here. No, 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 no. Well, I do, but I can't remember where I have it. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, imagine not believing me. Tush, 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 tush. I think I need a little bit closer. Yeah. I actually think this is a better angle for me. There we go. Tisk, 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 tisk. So yeah. But I think at least you are in good company here, where you are appreciated. And that is good. Very good. Ugh. I know. I know. But I can't help you with that. I know. And all of you know I would love to help you guys. Sina! Hi! Hi! Yeah, but that's because a lot of people use it wrong. Because they're fucking dumb. So yeah. True. True, true. Like I have a few I genuinely care about on Twitch. And I also say to them that I genuinely care about them. But I also just only care about them as a friend. And a lot of people are not good with making that distinction um, between loving you as a friend and loving you as a romantic partner. But yeah, find yourself, do your hobbies, Do what makes you happy, and things will come with time. And I know it's hard to believe, um, because I've been in that fucking situation myself as well. But things will come at the time it should come. Yeah, it's not me, because I trucked from Finland to Portugal. So, yeah, it's not me. You were so close and failed so hard. I did. I did go through Spain. I did. Well, it's nice driving when you have a lot of people you can talk to. Hi, Lafayette. Hi. Sika, did she do it to you again? But yeah. Is anyone else than me excited for next week? I'm so excited for next week. And to all of you which do not know yet, I got in on my education, or my study, as some call it. And I will be starting end of August or start September. And I'm so excited for it. Thanks, Latriel. So a 2-year bachelor. That's gonna be nice. With a side gig at my mom's job, and the home guard, and streaming, and maybe bookbinding. I don't know. A lot of things could happen. Hmm. But now I have found the next 5 books I'm gonna read. Because I'm gonna have seriously no money doing my study. So I can't really go out and buy new books. So yeah, it's gonna be great. Yes. So friend, really good friend, and romantic. Oh, so friend, romantic. Nice. So let's see how many pages we are going to do today. Urukai stopped there. Okay, so we are at 21 pages today. And that's gonna be good. And also, Lathriel, thanks for the bits. I appreciate it. Supporting my journey on Twitch and sharing good stories. So, does anyone have an idea for a title today? It has a journey through Middle-earth. Maybe the Urukai is moving. There we go. That's the title for today. Yes, let's go. Woohoo! Okay, fair. Dom, dom. Dom, dom. Dom, 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 dom. Woohoo! So, we are gonna start read now. Because else I won't start. Chapter 3. The Urukai. Try to get some food, and then you can figure out if it's that. Pippin lay in a dark and troubled dream. It seemed that he could hear his own small voice echoing in the black tunnels, calling Frodo, Frodo. But instead of Frodo, hundreds of hideous orc faces grinned at him out of the shadows. Hundreds of hideous arms grasped at him from every side. Where was Merry? He woke. Cold air blew on his face. He was lying on his back. Evening was coming, and the sky above was growing dim. He turned and found that the dream was little worse than the waking. His wrists, legs, and ankles were tied with the cords. Beside him Mary lay, white-faced, with a dirty rag bound across his brows. All about them sat or stood a great company of orcs. 2 seconds, I just began to bleed a little bit. There we go. Slowly, in Pippin's aching head, memory pieced itself together and became separated from dream shadows. Of course, he and Mary had run off into the woods. What had come over them? Why had they dashed off like that, taking no notice of old Strider? They had run a long way shouting. He could not remember how far or how long. And then suddenly they had crashed right into a group of orcs. They were standing listening, and they did not appear to see Merry and Pippin until they were almost in their arms. Then they yelled, and dozens of other goblins had sprung out of the trees. Merry and he had drawn their swords, but the orcs did not wish to fight, and had only tried to lay hold of them. even when Mary had cut off several of their arms and hands. Good old Mary. Then Boromir had come leaping through the trees. He had made them fight. He slew so many of them, and the rest fled. But they had not gone far on the way back when they were attacked again, by 100 orcs at least. Some of them very large, and they shot a rain of arrows always at Boromir. Boromir had blown his great horn till the woods rang, and at the first the orcs had been dismayed and had drawn back. But when no answer but the echoes came, they had attacked more fiercely than ever. Pippin did not remember much more. His last memory was of Boromir leaning against a tree, plucking out an arrow. Then darkness fell suddenly. I suppose I was knocked on the head, he said to himself. I wonder if poor Mary is much hurt. What has happened to Boromir? Why didn't the orcs kill us? Where are we? And where are we going? He could not answer the questions. He felt cold and sick. I wish Gandalf had never persuaded Elrond to let us come, he thought. What good have I been? Just a nuance, a passenger, a piece of luggage. And now I have been stolen, and I'm just a piece of luggage for the orcs. I hope Strider or someone will come and claim us. But out I too hope for it. Won't that throw out all the plans? I wish I could get free. He struggled a little, quietly uselessly. One of the orcs sitting near laughed and said something to a companion in their abominable tongue. Rest while you can, little fool, he said to Pippin, in common speech, which he had almost as hideous as his own language. Rest while you can. We'll find a use for your legs before long. You'll wish you had got none before we get home. If I had my way, you'd wish you were dead now, said the other. I'd make you squeak, you miserable rat. He stooped over Pippin, bringing his yellow fangs close to his face. He had a black knife with a long jagged blade in his hand. Lie quiet, or I'll tickle you with this. He hissed. Don't draw attention to yourself, or I may forget my orders. Curse the Isengarders. Uchlet u Bangong sha Pustuk Saruman Glob Bushka Sky. He passed into a long, angry speech in his own tongue that slowly died away in muttering and snarling. Terrified, Pippin lay still, though the pain at his wrists and ankles were growing, and the stones beneath him were boring into his back. To take his mind off himself, he listened intently to all that he could hear. There were many voices round about, and though orc speech sounded at all times full of hate and anger, it seemed plain that something like a quarrel has begun, and was getting hotter. To Pippin's surprise, he found that much of the talk was intelligible. Many of the orcs were using ordinary language. Apparently the members of 2 or 3 quite different tribes were present, and they could not understand one another's orc speech. There was an angry debate concerning what they were to do now. Which way they were to take and what should be done with the prisoners. There's no time to kill them properly, said one. No time for play on this trip. That can't be helped, said another. But why not but why not kill them quick? Kill them now. They are cursed nuance, and we are in a hurry. Evening's coming on, and we ought to get a move on. Orders, said a third voice in a deep growl. Kill all but not the halflings. They are to be brought back alive as quickly as possible. That is my orders. What are they wanted for? Asked several voices. Why alive? Do they give a good sport? No, I heard that one of them has got something that's wanted for the war, some elvish plot or other. Anyway, they'll both be questioned. Is that all you know? Why don't we search them and find out? We might find something that we could use ourselves. That is a very interesting remark, sneered a voice, softer than the others, but more evil. I may have to report that. The prisoners are not to be searched or plundered. Those are my orders. And mine too, said the deep voice. Alive and as captured. No spoiling. That's my orders. Not our orders, said one of the earlier voices. We have come all the way from the mines to kill and avenge our folk. I wish to kill and then go back north. Then you can wish again, said the growling voice. I am Ukluk. I command, I return to Isengard but the shortest road. Is Saruman the master or the great eye? Said the evil voice. We should go back at once to Lukburs. If we could cross the great river we might, said another voice. But there are not enough of us to venture down to the bridges. I came across, said the evil voice. A winged Nazgul awaits us northward on the east bank. Maybe. Then you will fly off with our prisoners and get all the pay and praise in Lockburrs and leave us to foot it as best as we can through the horse country. No, we must stick together. These lands are dangerous, full of foul rebels and brigands. Oh, hydration. Remember to hydrate yourself. Hey, we must stick together, growled Ugluk. I don't trust you, little swine. You've got no guts outside your own sties. But for us, you'd all have run away. We are the fighting Urukai. We slew the great warrior. We took the prisoners. We are the servants of Saruman the Wise, the White Hand, the hand that gives us man flesh to eat. We came out of Isengard and led you here, and we shall lead you back by the way we chose. I am Ugluk. I have spoken. You have spoken more than enough, Ugluk, snapped the evil voice. I wonder how they would like it in Luxburg. They might think that Ugluk's shoulders need relieving of a swollen head. They might ask where his strange ideas come from. Did they come from Saruman, perhaps? Who does he think he is, setting up on his own his filthy white badges? They might agree with me, with Grisnak, the trusted messenger, and I, Grisnak, say this: Saruman is a fool and a dirty treacherous fool, but the great eye is on him. Swine it is? How do you folk like being called swine by the muckrakers of a dirty little wizard? It's orc flesh they eat, I'll warrant. Many loud yells in orc speech answered him, and the ringing clash of weapons being drawn. Cautiously, Pippin rolled over, hoping to see what would happen. His guards had to join in the fray. In the twilight, he saw a large black orc, probably Okluk, standing facing Grisnak, a short, crook-legged creature, very broad and with long arms that hung almost to the ground. Round them were many smaller goblins. Pippin supposed that these were the ones from the north. They had drawn their knives and swords, but hesitated to attack Ugluk. Ugluk shouted, and a number of other orcs of nearly his own size ran up. Then suddenly, without warning, Ugluk sprang forwards, and with two swift strokes swept the heads of two of his opponents. Grisnak stepped aside and vanished into the shadows. The others gave way, and one stepped backwards and fell over Mary's prostrate form with a curse. Hi, Nikki. Hi. Yet that probably saved his life, for Okluk's followers leaped over him and cut down another with their broad-bladed swords. It was the yellow-fanged guard. His body fell right on top of Pippin, still clutching its longsword saw its knife. How are you today, Nikki? Nice to see you. Put up your weapons, shouted Okluk, and let's have no more nonsense. We go straight west from here and down the stair. From there straight to the downs, then along the river to the forest, and we march day and night. That's clear? Now, thought Pippin, if only it takes that ugly fellow a little while to get his troops under control, I've got a chance. A gleam of hope had come to him. The edge of the black knife had stirred his arm and then slid down to his wrists. He felt the blood trickling onto his hand, but he also felt the cold touch of steel against his skin. The orcs were getting ready to march again, but some of the northerners were still unwilling, and the Isengarders slew two more before the rest were cowed. There was much cursing and confusion. For the moment Pippin was unwatched. His legs were securely bound, but his arms were only tied about the wrists, and his hands were in front of him. He could move them both together, though the bonds were cruelly tight. He pushed the dead orc to one side, then hardly daring to breathe, he drew the knot of the wrist cord up and down against the blade of the knife. It was sharp, and the dead hand held it fast. The cord was cut. Quickly Pippin took it in his fingers and knotted it again into a loose bracelet of two loops, and slipped it over his hands. Then he lay very still. Ugh. Pick up the prisoners, shouted Ugluk. Don't play any tricks with them. If they're not alive when we get back, someone else will die too. An orc seized Pippin like a sack, put its head between his tight hands, grabbed his arms, and dragged them down, until Pippin's face was crushed against his neck. Then it jolted off with him. Another treated Mary in the same way. The orc's claw-like hand gripped Pippin's arm like iron. The nails bit into him, He shut his eyes and slipped back into evil dreams. Suddenly he was thrown onto the stony floor again. It was early night, but the slim moon was already falling westward. They were on the edge of a cliff that seemed to look out over a sea of pale mist. There was a sound of water falling nearby. The scouts have come back at last, said an orc close at hand. Well, what did you discover? Growled the voice of Ugluk. Only a single horseman, and he made off westwards. All's clear now. Now, I dare say, but how long? You fools! You should have shot him. He'll raise the alarm. The cursed horse breeders will hear of us by morning. Now we'll have to leg it double quick. A shadow bent over Pippin. It was Ugluk. Sit up, said the orc. My lads are tired of lugging you about. We have got to climb down, and you must use your legs. Be helpful now. No crying out, no trying to escape. We have ways of paying for tricks that you won't like, though they won't spoil your usefulness for the master. He cut the thongs round Pippin's legs and ankles, picked him up by his hair, and stood him on his feet. Pippin fell down, and Ugluk dragged him up by his hair again. Several orcs laughed. Ugluk thrust a flask between his teeth and poured some burning liquid down his throat. He felt a hot, fierce flow through him. The pain in his legs and ankles vanished. He could stand. Now for the other, said Ugluk. Pippin saw him go to Mary, who was lying close by, and kick him. Mary groaned. Seizing him roughly, Ugluk pulled him into a sitting position and tore the bandage off his head. Then he smeared the wound with some dark stuff out of a small wooden box. Mary cried out and struggled wildly. The orcs clapped and hooted. Can't take his medicine, they jeered. Doesn't know what's good for him. Aye, we shall have some fun later. But at the moment, Ugluk was not engaged in sport. He needed speed and had to humor unwilling followers. He was healing Mary in orc fashion, and his treatment worked swiftly. When he had forced a drink from his flask down the hobbit's throat, cut his leg bonds, and dragged him to his feet, Mary stood up, looking pale but grim and defiant, and very much alive. The gash in his forehead gave him no more trouble, but he bore a brown scar to the end of his days. Hello, Pippin, he said. So you come on this little expedition too? Where do we get bed and breakfast? Now then, said Ugluk, none of that. Hold your tongues, no talk to one another. Any trouble will be reported at the other end. And he'll know how to pay you. You'll get bed and breakfast all right. More than you can stomach. The orc band began to descend a narrow ravine leading down into the misty plain below. Mary and Pippin, separated by a dozen orcs or more, climbed down with them. At the bottom, they stepped onto grass, and the hearts of the hobbit rose. Now straight on, shouted Ugluk. West and a little north. Follow Lockdush. But what are we going to do at sunrise? Said one of the northerners. Go on running, said Ugluk. What do you think? Sit on the grass and wait for the whiteskins to join the picnic? But we can't run in the sunlight. You run behind me, said Ugluk. Run, or you will never see your beloved holes again. By the white hand. What's the use of sending out mountain maggots on a trip only half trained? Run, curse you, run while the night lasts. Then the whole company began to run with the long loping strides of orcs. They kept no order, thrusting, jostling, and cursing, yet the speed was very great. Each hobbit had a guard of 3. Pippin was far back in the line. He wondered how long he would be able to go on at this pace. He had had no food since the morning. One of his guards had a whip, but at present the orc liquor was still hot in him. He wits too were wide awake. Every now and again there came into his mind unbidden a vision of a keen face of Strider bending over a dark trail and running behind. But what could even a ranger see except a confused trail of orc feet? His own little prince and Mary's were overwhelmed by the trampling of the iron shod shoes before them and behind them and about them. They had gone only a mile or so from the cliff when the land sloped down into a wide shallow depression, where the ground was soft and wet. Mist lay there, pale glimmering in the last rays of the sickle moon. The dark shapes of the orcs in front grew dim, and then were swallowed up. Aye, steady now, shouted Ugluk from the rear. A sudden thought leaped into Pippin's mind, and he acted on it at once. He swerved aside to the right and dived out of the reach of his clutching guards, head first into the mist. He landed sprawling on the grass. Halt! Yelled Ugluk. There was for a moment turmoil and confusion. Pippin sprang up and ran, but the orcs were after him. Some suddenly loomed up right in front of him. No hope of escape, thought Pippin, but there is a hope that I have left some of my own marks unspoiled in the wet ground. He groped with his 2 tight hands at his throat and unclasped the brooch of his cloak. just as long arms and hard claws seized him, he let it fall. Sorry. There I suppose it will lie until the end of time, he thought. I don't know why I did it. If the others have escaped, they've probably all gone with Frodo. A whip thong curled round his legs, and he stifled a cry. Enough, shouted Ugluk, running up. He's still got to run a long way yet. Make them both run. Just use the whip as a reminder. But that's not all, he snarled, turning to Pippin. I shan't forget. Payment is only put off. Leg it. Neither Pippin nor Merry remembered much of the later part of the journey. Evil dreams and evil waking were blended into a long tunnel of misery, with hope growing ever fainter behind. They ran and they ran, striving to keep up the pace set by the orcs, licked every now and again with a cruel thumb cunningly handed. If they halted or stumbled, they were seized and dragged for some distance. The warmth of the orc draught had gone. Pippin felt cold and sick again. Suddenly he fell face downward on the turf. Hard hands with rending nails gripped and lifted him. He was carried like a sack once more, and darkness grew about him, whether the darkness of another night or blindness of his eyes, he could not tell. Dimly he became aware of voices clamoring. It seemed that many of the orcs were demanding a hold. Ugluk was shouting. He felt himself flung to the ground, and he lay as he fell, till black dreams took him. But he did not long escape from pain. Soon the iron grip of merciless hands was on him again. For a long time he was tossed and shaken, and then slowly the darkness gave way, and he came back to the waking world and found that it was morning. Orders were shouted, and he was thrown roughly on the grass. There he lay for a while, fighting with despair. His head swam, but from the heat in his body he guessed that he had been given another draught. An orc stooped over him and flung him some bread and a strip of raw dried flesh. He ate the stale grey bread hungrily, but not the meat. He was famished, but not yet so famished as to eat flesh flung to him by an orc. The flesh of he dared not guess what creature. He sat up and looked about. Mary was not far away. They were by the banks of a swift narrow river. Ahead mountains loomed. A tall peak was catching the first rays of the sun. A dark smudge of forest lay on the lower slopes before them. There was much shouting and debating among the orcs. A quarrel seemed on the point of breaking out again between the Northerners and the Isengarders. Some were pointing back away south, and some were pointing eastward. Very well, said Ugluk. Leave them to me then. No killing, as I've told you before. But if you want to throw away what we come all the way to get, throw it away. I'll look after it. Let the fighting Urukai do the work, as usual. If you're afraid of the Whiteskins, run. Run. There's the forest, he shouted, pointing ahead. Get to it. It's your best hope. Off you go, and quick, before I knock a few more heads off to put some sense into the others. There was some cursing and scuffling, and then most of the Northerners broke away and dashed off. Over 100 of them, running wildly along the river towards the mountains. The hobbits were left with the Isengarders, a grim dark band, fourscore at least of large, swart, slant-eyed orcs with great bows and short, broad-bladed swords. A few of the larger and bolder Northerners remained with them. Now we'll deal with Grisnach, said Ugluk. But some even of his own followers were looking uneasily southwards. I know, growled Ugluk. The cursed horseboys have got wind of us. But that's all your fault, Snarga. You and the other scouts ought to have your ears cut off. What the fuck did I go? But we are the fighters. We'll feast on horseflesh yet, or something better. Andrea, hi! Welcome in. At that moment, Pippin saw why some of the troop had been pointing eastward. From that direction, there now came hoarse cries, and there was Grisnag again, and at his back a couple of score of others like him, long out crook-legged orcs. They had a red eye painted on their shields. Ukluk stepped forward to meet them. So if you come back, he said. Thought better of it, eh? I returned to see what orders are carried out, and the prisoners are safe, answered Grisnag. Indeed, said Ugluk, waste of effort. I'll see that the orders are carried out in my command. And what else did you do? Did you come back for? You went in a hurry. Did you leave anything behind? I left a fool, snarled Grisnag. But there were some stout fellows with him that are too good to lose. I knew you'd lead them into a mess. I've come to help them. Splendid, laughed Ugluk. But unless you got some guts for fighting, you have taken the wrong way. Larkspur was your road. The Whiteskins are coming. What's happened to your precious Nazgul? Has he had another mount shot under him? Now, if you brought him along, that might have been useful, but these Nazguls are all they make out. Nazgul, Nazgul, said Grisnag, shivering and licking his lips, as if the word had a foul taste that he savored painfully. You speak of what is deep beyond the reach of your muddy dreams, Ugluk, he said. Nazgul. Ah. All that they make out. One day you'll wish that you have not said that. Ape, she snarled fiercely. You ought to know that they're the apple of the great eye. But the winged Nazgul, not yet, not yet. He won't let them show themselves across the great river yet, not too soon. They are for the war and other purposes. You seem to know a lot, said Ugluk. More than is good for you, I guess. Perhaps those in Lukbus might wonder how and why. But in the meantime, the Urugai of Isengard can do the dirty work as usual. Don't stand slavering there. Get your rabble together. The other swine are legging it to the forest. You better follow. You wouldn't get back to the great river alive. Right off the mark. Now, I'll be on your heels. The Isengarders seized Merry and Pippin again and slung them on their backs. Then the troop started off. Hour after hour they ran, pausing now and again, only to sling the hobbits to fresh carriers. Either because they were quicker and hardier, or because of some plan of Grisnag's. The Isengarders gradually passed through the orcs of Mordor, and Grisnag folk closed in behind. Soon they were gaining also on the Northerners ahead. The forest began to draw nearer. Pippin was bruised and torn. His aching head was grated by the filthy jowl and hairy ear of the orc that held him. Immediately the front were bowed back, and those thick legs going up and down, unresting, as if they were made of wire and horn, beating out of the nightmare seconds of an endless time. In the afternoon, Ugluk's troop overtook the Northerners. They were flagging in the rays of the bright sun, winter sun shining in a pale cool sky, though it was were down and the tongues lolling out. Maggots, jeered the Isengarders. You're cooked. The Whiteskins will catch you and eat you. They are coming. A cry from Grisnock showed that this was not mere jest. Horsemen, riding very swiftly, had indeed been sighted, still far behind, but gaining on the orcs. Gaining on them like a tide over the flats of folks straying in a quicksand. The Isengarders began to run with redoubled pace that astonished Pippin. A terrific spurt, it seemed, for the end of a race. Then he saw that the sun was sinking, falling behind the misty mountains. Shadows reached over the land. The soldiers of Mordor lifted their heads and also began to put on speed. The forest was dark and close. Already they had passed a few outlying trees. The land was beginning to slope upwards, ever more steeply. But the orcs did not halt. Both Ugluk and the Grisnacks shouted, spurring them onto a last effort. They will make it yet. They will escape, thought Pippin. And then he managed to twist his neck back so as to glance back with one eye over his shoulder. He saw the riders away eastward were already level with the orcs, galloping over the plain. The sunset gilded their spears and helmets and glinted in a pale flowing hair. They were hemming the orcs in, preventing them from scattering and driving them along the line of the river. He wondered very much what kind of folk they were. He wished now that he had learned more in Rivendell and looked more at maps and things. But in those days, the plans for the journey seemed to be more in competent hands, and he had never reckoned with being cut off from Gandalf, or from Strider, or even from Frodo. All that he could remember about Rohan was that Gandalf's horse, Shadowfax, had come from that land. That sounded hopeful, as far as it went. But how will they know that we are not orcs? He thought. I don't suppose they have heard of hobbits down here. I suppose I ought to be glad that the beastly orcs look like being destroyed, but I would rather be saved myself. The chances were that he and Merry would be killed together with their captors before ever the men of Rohan were aware of them. Remember to hydrate, everyone. A few of the riders appeared to be bowmen, skilled at shooting from a running horse. Riding swiftly into range, they shot arrows at the orcs that straggled behind, and several of them fell. Then the riders wheeled away out of the range of the answering bows of the enemies, who shot wildly, not daring to hold. This happened many times, and on one occasion arrows fell among the Isengarders. One of them, just in front of Pippin, stumbled and did not get up again. Night came down without the riders closing in for battle. Many orcs had fallen, but fully 200 remained. In early darkness, the orcs came to a hillock. The eaves of the forest were very near, probably no more than 3 furlongs away, but they could not go further. The horsemen had encircled them. A small band disobeyed Ugluk's command and ran towards the forest. Only 3 returned. Well, we are here, sneered Grisnock. Fine leadership. I hope the great Ugluk will lead us out again. Put those halflings down, ordered Ugluk, taking no notice of Grisnak. You Lockdars, get two others and stand guard over them. They are not to be killed unless the filthy whiteskins break through. Understand? As long as I'm alive, I want them. But they are not to cry out, and they are not to be rescued. Bind their legs. The last part of the order was carried out mercilessly, but Pippin found that for the first time he was close to Merry. The orcs were making a great deal of noise, shouting and clashing their weapons, and the hobbits managed to whisper together for a while. I don't think much of this, said Mary. I feel nearly done in. Don't think I could crawl away far, even if I was free. Lembas, whispered Pippin. Lembas, I got some. Have you? I don't think they've taken anything but our swords. Yes, I had a packet in my pocket, answered Mary, but it must be battered to crumbs. Anyway, I can't put my mouth in my pocket. You won't have to. I. But just then a savage kick warned Pippin that the noise had died down, and the guards were watchful. The night was cold and still. All round the knoll on which the orcs were gathered, little watchfires sprang up, golden red in the darkness, a complete ring about them. They were within a long bowshot, but the riders did not show themselves against the light, and the orcs wasted many arrows shooting at the fires until Ugluk stopped them. The riders made no sound. Later in the night, when the moon came out of the mist, then occasionally they could be seen, shadowy shapes that glinted now and again in the white light, as they moved in ceaseless patrol. They'll wait for the sun. Curse them, growled one of the guards. Why don't we get together and chat through? What's old Ugluk think he's doing? I should like to know. I dare say you would, snarled Ugluk, stepping up from behind. Meaning I don't think at all. Eh? Curse you. You are as bad as the other rabble, the maggots and the apes of Luxburg. No good trying to charge with them. They just squeal and bolt, and there are more than enough of these filthy horseboys to mop up our lot on the flat. There's only one thing these maggots can do. They can see like gimlets in the dark, but these whiteskins have better night eyes than most men, from all I have heard. And don't forget the horses. They can see the night breeze, or so it's said. Still, there's one thing the fine fellows don't know. Moha and his lads are in the forest. They should turn up any time now. Ugluk's words were enough, apparently, to satisfy the Isengarders, but the other orcs were both dispirited and rebellious. They posted a few watchers, but most of them lay on the ground, resting in the pleasant darkness. It did indeed become very dark again, for the moon passed westward into thick cloud, and Pippin could not see anything for a few feet. The fires brought no light to the hillock. The riders were not, however, content merely to wait for the dawn and let their enemies rest. A sudden outcry on the east side of the knoll showed that something was wrong. It seemed that some of the men had ridden in close, slipped off their horses, crawled to the edge of the camp, and killed several orcs, and then had faded away again. Ugluk dashed off to stop a stampede. Pippin and Merry sat up. The guards, Isengarders, had gone with Ugluk, but if the hobbits had any thought of escape, it was soon dashed. A long, hairy arm took each of them by the neck and drew them close together. Dimly, they were aware of Grisnak's great head and hideous face between them. His foul breath was on their cheeks. He began to paw them and feel them. Wow, imagine not asking for consent before feeling. You, nasty. Pippin shuddered as hard, cold fingers groped down his back. Well, my little ones, said Grisnak in a soft whisper, enjoying your nice rest? Or not? A little awkwardly placed, perhaps? Swords and whips on one side, and nasty spears on the other. Little people should not meddle in affairs that are too big for them. His fingers continued to grope. There was a light like a pale but hot fire behind his eyes. The thought came suddenly into Pippin's mind, as if caught directly from the urgent thought of his enemy. Grisnak knows about the ring. He's looking for it, while Ugluk is busy. He probably wants it for himself. Cold fear was in Pippin's heart. Yet at the same time, he was wondering what he could make of Grisnak's desire. I don't think you will find it that way, he whispered. It isn't easy to find. Find it? Said Grisnak. His fingers stopped crawling and gripped Pippin's shoulder. Find what? What are you talking about, little one? For a moment, Pippin was silent. Then suddenly in the darkness, he made a noise in his throat. Gollum, Gollum. Nothing, my precious. He added. The hobbits felt Grisnak's finger twitch. Oh, he hissed the goblin softly. That's what he means, is it? Oh, very, very dangerous, my little ones. Perhaps, said Merry, now alert and aware of Pippin's guess. Perhaps, and not only for us. Still, you know your own business best. Do you want it or not? And what would you give for it? Do I want it? Do I want it? Said Grisnak, as if puzzled, but his arms were trembling. What would I give for it? What do you mean? We mean, said Pippin, choosing his words carefully, that it is no good groping in the dark. We could save you time and trouble, but you must untie our legs first, or we'll do nothing and say nothing. My dear tender little fools, hissed Grisnak, everything you have and everything you know will be got out of you in due time. Everything. You'll wish there was more that you can tell to satisfy the questioner. Indeed you will. Quite soon. We shan't hurry the inquiry. Oh dear no. What do you think you've been kept alive for? My dear little fellows, please believe me when I say that it is not out of our kindness. That's not even one of Ugluk's faults. I find it quite easy to believe, said Merry. But you haven't got your prey home yet. And it doesn't seem to be going your way, whatever happens. If we come to Isengard, it won't be the great Grisnak that benefits. Saruman will take all that he can find. If you want anything for yourselves, now's the time to do a deal. Grisnak began to lose his temper. The name of Saruman seemed to especially to enrage him. Time was passing and the disturbance was dying down. Ukluk and the Isengarders might return at any minute. Have you got it? Either of you? He said. He snarled. Gollum, Gollum, said Pippin. Untie our legs, said Pippin. Said Merry. They felt the orc's arms trembling violently. Curse you, you filthy little vermin, he hissed. Untie your legs? I'll untie every string in your body. Do you think I can't search you to the bones? Search you? I'll cut you both to quivering shreds. I don't need the help of your legs to get you away. And have you all to myself. Suddenly he seized them. The strength in his long arms and shoulders was terrifying. He tucked them one under each armpit and crushed them fiercely to his sides. A great stifling hand was clapped over each of their mouths. Then he sprang forward, stooping low. Quickly and silently he went until he came to the edge of the knoll. There, choosing a gap between the watchers, he passed like an evil shadow out into the night, down the slope and away westward towards the river that flowed out of the forest. In that direction there was a wide open space with only one fire. After going a dozen yards, he halted, peering and listening. Nothing could be seen or heard. He crept slowly on, bent almost double. Then he squatted and listened again. He stood up, as if to risk a sudden dash. At that very moment, the dark form of a rider loomed up right in front of him. A horse snorted and reared. A man called out. Grisnak flung himself to the ground flat, dragging the hobbits under him. Then he drew his sword. No doubt he meant to kill his captives, rather than allow them to escape or to be rescued. But it was his undoing. The sword rang faintly and glinted a little in the light of the fire away to his left. An arrow came whistling out of the gloom. It was aimed with skill, or guided by faith, and it pierced his right hand. He dropped the sword and shrieked. There was a quick beat of hoofs, and even as Grisnak leaped up and ran, he was ridden down and a spear passed through him. He gave a hideous shivering cry and lay still. The hobbits remained flat on the ground as Grisnak had left them. Another horseman came riding swiftly to his comrade's aid. Whether because of some special keenness of the sight or because of some other sense, the horse lifted and sprang lightly over them, but his rider did not see them. Lying covered in their elven cloaks, too crushed for the moment and too afraid to move. And it's hydration time again. At last Mary stirred and whispered softly, "So far, so good. But how are we to avoid being spitted?" The answer came almost immediately. The cries of Grisnak had roused the orcs. From the yells and screeches that came from the knoll, the hobbits guessed that their disappearance had been discovered. Ukluk was probably knocking off a few more heads. Then suddenly the answering cries of orc voices came from the right, outside the circle of watchfires, from the direction of the forest and the mountains. Mahur had apparently arrived and was attacking the besiegers. There was the sound of galloping horses. The riders were drawing in their ring close around the knoll, risking the orc arrows so as to prevent any sortie, while a company rode off to deal with the newcomers. Suddenly Merry and Pippin realized that without moving, that without moving, uh, they were now outside the circle. There was nothing between them and escape. Now, said Mary, if only we had our legs and hands free, we might get away. But I can't touch the knots, and I can't bite them. No need to try, said Pippin. I was going to tell you. I managed to free my hands. These loops are only left for show. You better have a bit of limbers first. He slipped the cords off his wrists and fished out a packet. The cakes were broken, but good, still in their leaf wrappings. The hobbits each ate 2 or 3 pieces. The taste brought back to them the memory of fair faces, and laughter, and wholesome food in quiet days now far away. For a while they ate thoughtfully, sitting in the dark, heedless of the cries and sounds of battle nearby. Pippin was the first to come back to the present. We must be off, he said. Half a moment. Grisnark's sword was lying close at hand, but it was too heavy and clumsy for him to use. So he crawled forward, and finding the body of the goblin, he drew from its sheath a long, sharp knife. With this, he quickly cut their bonds. Now for it, he said. When we warmed up a bit, perhaps we shall be able to stand again and walk. But in any case, we had better start by crawling. They crawled. The turf was deep and yielding, and that helped them. But it seemed a long, slow business. They gave the watchfire a wide berth, and wormed their way forward bit by bit until they came to the edge of the river. Gurgling away in the black shadows under its deep banks, then they looked back. The sounds had died away. Evidently, Mahir and his lads had been killed or driven off. The riders had returned to the silent, ominous vigil. It would not last very much longer. Already the night was old. In the east, which had remained unclouded, the sky was beginning to grow pale. We must get under cover, said Pippin, or we shall be seen. It will not be any comfort to us if these riders discover that we are not orcs after we are dead. He got up and stamped his feet. Those cords have cut me like wires, but my feet are getting warm again. I could stagger on now. What about you, Mary? Mary got up. Yes, he said, I can manage it. Lembas does put heart into you. A more wholesome sort of feeling, too, than the heat of that orc drought. I wonder what it was made of. Better not to know, I expect. Let's get a drink of water to wash away the thought of it. Not here, the banks are too steep, said Pippin. Forward now. They turned and walked side by side, slowly along the lines of the river. Behind them, the light grew in the east. As they walked, they compared notes, talking lightly in hobbit fashion of the things that had happened since their capture. No listener would have guessed from their words that they had suffered cruelly and been in dire peril, going without hope towards torment and death. Or that even now, as they knew well, they had little chance of ever finding friend or safety again. You seem to have been doing well, Master Took, said Mary. You will get almost a chapter in old Bilbo's book, if ever I get a chance to report to him. Good work, especially guessing that the hairy villain's little game and playing up to him. But I wonder if anyone will pick up on our trail and find that brooch, something. I should hate to lose mine, but I'm afraid yours is gone for good. I shall have to brush up my toes if I am to get level with you. Indeed, Cousin Brandybuck is going in front now. This is where he comes in. I don't suppose you have much uh, notion where we are, but I spent my time at Rivendell rather better. We are walking west along the Endwash. The bottom of the Misty Mountains is in front, and Fangorn Forest. Even as he spoke, the dark edge of the forest loomed up straight before them. Night seemed to have taken refuge under the great trees, creeping away from the coming dawn. Lead on, Master Brandybuck, said Pippin, or lead back. We have been warned against Fangorn, but one so knowing will not have forgotten that. I have not, answered Mary, but the forest seemed better to me all the same than turning back into the middle of a battle. He led the way in under the huge branches of the trees, old beyond guessing they seemed. Great trailing beards of lichen hung down from them, blowing and swaying in the breeze. Out of the shadows, the hobbits peeped, gazing back down the slope. Little furtive figures that in the dim light looked like elf children in the deeps of time peering out of the wild wood in wonder at their first dawn. Far over the great river and the brown lands, leagues upon grey leagues away, the dawn came, red as flame. Loud rang the hunting horns to greet it. The riders of Rohan sprang suddenly to life. Horn answered horn again. Merry and Pippin heard, clear in the cold air, the neighing of war horses and the sudden singing of many men. The sun's limb was lifted, an arc of fire, above the margin of the world. Then with a great cry the riders charged from the east, and the red light gleamed on mail and spear. The orcs yelled and shot all the arrows that remained to them. The hobbits saw several horsemen fall, but the line held on up the hill and over it, and wheeled round and charged again. Most of the raiders that were left alive then broke and fled uh, this way and that, pursued one by one to the death. But one band, holding together in the black wedge, drove forward resolutely in the direction of the forest. Straight up the slope they charged towards the watchers. Now they were drawing near, and it seemed certain that they would escape. They had already hewn down 3 riders that barked their way. Hi, Sen. Hi. We have watched too long, said Mary. There's Ugluk. I don't want to meet him again. The hobbits turned and fled, deep into the shadows of the wood. So it was that they did not see the last stand when Ugluk was overtaking a broad bay at the very edge of Fangorn. There he was slain at last by Eomer, the third marshal of the Morg, who dismounted and fought him sword to sword. And over the wide fields the keen-eyed riders hunted down the few orcs that had escaped and still had strength to fly. Then, when they had laid their fallen comrades in a mound and had sung their praises, the riders had made a great fire and scattered the ashes of their enemies. So ended the raid, and no news of it came ever back either to Mordor or to Isengard. But the smoke of the burning rose high to heaven and was seen by many watchful eyes. And that was the last of today. Yeah, very much last of today. Because the next chapter is 35 pages. So yeah. And then just a few small reminders. Next week, on Sunday, of course, it's Monday celebration stream. Yay! And I have a lot of surprises for you guys. Woohoo! Guys, we'll blunt the knives. Blunt the knives, bend the forks, dust the bottles and burn the corks, dust the bottles and crack the plates. That's what Bilbo Baggins hate. Drop the bot, build the mat, the battle, the mat, the bottoms of the sore. Set it down on every door. Start the door, start the door, start the door. Inside the door. Start it down some more. That's what Bilbo Baggins hate. Come on, everyone, we have to jump as well. He's here. Whoop whoop. You did take it, Mr. Thart. You did take the patate, which I dropped. Sorry, which I dropped. Drop, yup. 10 seconds. Everyone join in. Come on, let's jump. Jump, 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 jump. Jump, 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 jump. And who is gonna land? It seems like nobody's gonna land. Hi, Dumi. Hi. And nobody is landing. Sad. Sad. Yeah, you were right on course, and then the troll came. That's rude. Yeah, you were licking the bonbon. That's kind of nasty. So yeah. So again, next Sunday, Fun Day celebration. I have a lot of things I want to show you. A lot of things we're gonna do together, and just have a lot of fun. And yeah, of course, then read. We will probably do 2 chapters next time, maybe 3, because it's gonna be a long stream next time. Or long. It's long for me. Yes, we can jump back in. Jump, jump, jump to jump. Jump! Jump! Nice to me. Nice. We are catching all the patates. Patate. What the fuck? Oh, now I know why. Here. What the fuck? This doesn't make any sense. And Andrea hits the bush. Push, 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 push. Drop. Job is like it's hot. And Andrea is the sole winner at the moment. And Andrea will end up as the sole winner of the Easter eggs or the Bonbon eggs. Oh, Tommy is fast. Fast as fuck, boy. Okay, let's see. Can Miss Deathheart? No, Miss Deathheart is gonna miss as well. And Andrea is the sole winner of all the chocolate eggs. Woohoo! So yes, Bonbon celebration next Sunday. I'm gonna start usual time. And probably 3-4 hours, maybe 5. Who knows? Depends how fun we are having. How much fun we are having. Ooh. I see that. I see that new emote. Ooh. So yeah. So I hope to see you all next time. And I hope you all have had a nice time here today. And are gonna have a nice week until we meet again on next Sunday. To me, as I usually say, it's not mandatory to be here. I'm just happy to see people. So, who are we gonna raid? Here. Anyone having some suggestions? Also, if you have some writers uh, or someone which is just which is just crafting something or arting or something. Yeah, I'm here. But not soon, not that much longer. So let's see. What do we have? Yeah, 5 hours, up to 5 hours next time. Remember, next time. And no, we are not gonna finish the book because there's like 940 pages in this book. So let's see. I have a single person which has their stream anniversary at the moment. I actually think we should go and visit that person. It's very rare that we can do that. So if someone would be extremely lovely to prompt the raid messages, I would be very happy. Nice. So rate F, rate S. So rate followers, rate subs. So yes, grab your message and let's go in and wish Rosanna a very happy stream anniversary, and I will see you all next Sunday. Have a lovely week next week.